and maybe that's a good place to start. Yeah, LEF has such a great track record up until that point, and then since then it's just been amazing. So we'd love to hear if you can share more about LEF, your history, your mission, and what you've been working on.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you the abbreviated version here. And it's funny. I mean, I came on having spent a lot of time in sort of traditional post-secondary and just working on sort of systems change. And when it hit my radar and I met some of the folks that had been thinking about it, I didn't have another option but to say I'd love to support and come on board. So yeah, the
Serendipity.
thinking and sort of yeah, I believe strongly in allowing serendipity to do its work. We have a close friend, Simone Raviole, who calls himself a serendipity engineer, and I think there are folks that play that role in the world. But yeah, the sort of inception and some of the early thinking, which I then bought into, was born. Chris Purefoy, our CEO, likes to talk about, like, quite literally at high altitude. There were some folks in Switzerland dreaming big about what the future of education could ultimately look like. This was at a time when new digital assets and digital currencies and cryptocurrencies were sort of starting to hit the radar. The Bitcoin white paper had been dropped into the world. So as the story goes, there was a number of sort of big thinkers imagining what it would look like for, quite literally, rethinking a new economic model where knowledge and skills and education sort of sat at the center and was the currency of value. So quite literally human capital, as sort of this base asset that we could build on top of, as opposed to I think more traditional capital that we all are still perfectly happy to use and interact with. So that was the sort of origin, just really trying to rethink what it would mean for human beings and the data they produce to be a form of currency where you could think about new economic systems. So hence Learning Economy Foundation sort of being born. I came on a year into that project, which was a lot of thinking, a lot of community development, a lot of sort of R&D to that point, and for another couple of years into the project, which again, origins were 2017 timeframe. But since then, yeah, we've sort of moved from a lot of R&D work into more practical, let's really put some of these ideas into action. So just in the last couple of years, I guess, have sort of shifted into really trying to support the projects that are proving impactful. You mentioned the Open Skills Network. There's others that fit into that bucket, but yeah, that's the not so quick and dirty version of how LEF was born.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. Now, there's one area that I love to zoom in on and really explore with you, which is LearnCard, an open source digital wallet. What does that mean? What does it do, and who's it for?
Yeah, so part of that sort of shift into I guess the practical and trying to build some technology that's useful to bring about that future, the future state of learning as currency. LearnCard as a software developer kit, SDK, was sort of born. We've got a really impressive technical team, Learning Economy Studios, that sort of sits alongside Learning Economy Foundation. And the thinking was there's a lot of interest in portable assets, even beyond education, digital wallets. These things started to emerge. We all sort of, those in the privileged Western world certainly leverage a digital wallet in some sense, whether it's, credentials for boarding a flight, whether it's, Apple or Google Pay, we all have versions of these things. So the thought was, let's build something that's radically accessible, that is open source and free for those that, want to sort of start this journey, and put together some very deeply technical standards and try to like abstract that into the background and let them be the power, but then also build front end components that make for, really usable applications that individuals can actually interact with. So yeah, less a singular application, more a starting point and collection of sort of components. A lot of our origins come from work with Lego. So we have a lot of that sort of mental frame. What does it mean to sort of get these powerful blocks and construct them into things that are helpful and useful? And LearnCard kind of represents that for learner credentials, worker credentials. Not trying to be the next Apple Pay. That's not the goal. Open source learning and employment infrastructure by way of an SDK. Yeah, that's the idea.